Okay, good afternoon everyone. So today we are going to cover advanced mathematics, right? So yesterday we left our discussion on various basic arithmetic operations. So before we start, so we'll try to brush up the previous class. Okay, so who will tell me the data types in one breath? Like Shankar Mahadevan's song, right? Who is up for it? Yes, yes. Sunil.
White, short, in floor.
Done. In one breath. Naveen.
White, short, floor, feet, decimal, double.
Byte, short, in, float, long, char, string, date, time, span, object. Byte, short, int, long, float, double, decimal, string, char, bool, date, time,
Byte, int, long, short, double.
Started thinking, yes. Asaf.
Byte, short, int, decimal, float, boolean.
Byte, short, int, long, double, string.
Byte, short, int, double, long, string.
Byte, short, int, long, array.
टाइम निकाल के पढ़ लो भाई. वो लिस्ट में अरे है भी नहीं.
नहीं सर आपने कल बोला
मैं उस लिस्ट की बात कर रहा हूँ. व्हाट आई आस्क्ड यू टू बाय हार्ट एंड कम. निकाल लो, तुमको तो उतना काम भी नहीं है. पीसी खराब होगा तभी काम आएगा. Okay, so you now at least understand where you are and what you have to do. You're not still up to the, up to my expectation. That's what I can say. Kasi is not here. Good morning, he was there, I thought. Okay. No, if he is there in office, we can check. Okay. So we'll start with advanced mathematics operation. So what and all is there in advanced mathematics? Let me just see. And everybody has this book now, right? I have shared it in the group. So you will have this book. Good thing is there are multiple books. Why we are following? So at least whatever I am trying to convey, you have something to refer it back. Otherwise, what will happen? I'll cover chapters and topics and examples from this, and then you will be following some other book and you will not find the same thing. So it will be difficult to reciprocate what I am trying to make you guys understand. Okay. So advanced mathematics covers like square root, rounding, finding absolute, log, value of pi. Again, value of pi is mostly constant, but rest of the things, rest of the calculations, there are more calculations like sine and all those things. But yeah, these are the most common ones we usually use, right? So like finding a square root, okay, like rounding a number to a particular decimal places, okay. And the syntax is very simple, as you can see. If you want to find a square root, just put the number. And as you can see here, M is capital and S is capital, right? M is capital, what does it mean?
It's predefined.
It's not predefined, because when it starts, it's not a primitive data type. It is a implemented one. So it is being implemented by using the basic data types only and manipulation on that, right? And then there is a dot and then there is a text written. Till now you have not seen something like that, right? In our example base, we have not seen, we have seen implemented types like, we have used few things, right? Like enumerated data types we have used. There we saw, I think so we already have the example as well. Okay. I have deleted it. But yesterday we saw the example, right? Enum, say something, it is my, or say unit. Okay. And then we'll have, let's say, unit A. Okay, and then there will be length, width, okay. So, and then if we have to use this unit A of, like, say, this variable name, and then we'll say A dot, okay. Here. So now you see where our implemented data types are. Usually that is a kind of naming convention. We start with a caps, okay. This is not something mandatory, but usually to just avoid confusion, we do that. And similar thing is followed in basic .NET implementation also. So anything which is primitive, like which is built in C# will be a dark green. That also we can show mostly. Okay, you can see, if you see the color when you are utilizing in not this one. See, there is a string like this. A string, say AA. Okay, what is the color? You see, and there is another string with capital S and say A. Can you see the difference in the color?
Yeah, blue.
Okay, so usually, again, it depends like which color. Like initially it used to give this should be dark green and this will be dark blue and light blue. No, I think so it is green and blue. Basically there will be a clear differentiator between two. Here where you see the small string, this is both are string only, but the first one is the built-in data type, whereas the second one is a add-on done to the basic string here. Like this string will not add, and you can see here, right, it is giving an error because it is not initialized. Second one is not, right, because this can handle null value. Okay, so we can discuss all those things. Just for example, I showed you, right, what is the difference between like how the color scheme will come up. Okay, so here are advanced math, few of the advanced math functions are here. So you can see first one is the implemented data type, and then corresponding methods. So basically math is a namespace. Again, what is namespace? All those things we'll discuss little later once we go into the class concepts. Then it will be more clear like why we do that kind of abstractions when we read about it. As of now, you understand that all the math related operations or advanced math related operation is segregated under one umbrella named math. Okay, and then this has a functionalities, different functionalities. So when you say dot, okay, this is also called object based manipulation, right? So math, you can consider this thing as an object, and there is a directly method you can call by putting dot. Again, we are not elaborating how these things work because just after this, mostly 3-4 pages after, we'll be studying about methods. So you'll get to know how exactly method works. So as of now, you understand this is built-in methods or functions included in math okay, namespace, where everything is segregated under that. Okay, or math class, you can say a math class. Okay. Now these are also called object-based manipulation, so that you don't create a separate function and try to pass on the value. Here on the variable itself we are calling the method. So basically on the object itself we are doing a manipulation. That's why it is called object-based manipulation. Okay. Again, there is a separate topic on this we will discuss, so don't worry if you don't get the clear picture. And then square root of 81. Okay, so it's very simple. Rounding, again, for rounding there are two concepts. One is you need to have a floating point number, right? A decimal number, like a floating point number. And then up to how many digits after the decimal you want the number to be rounded off. Okay, and how rounding work is, basically you see it was 3 digit and we are taking 2. So you can argue that it should be 42.88, but it is 42.89. See, concept of rounding also works if the number, right, greater than or equal to 5, like or half the number, it will be rounded to the next. If it is less, it will round it to the previous. Okay, or it will stay as it is. It will not be rounded. It would have been 88.2, then it would have been 88 only, right? But because it is 88.9, so this will be incremented by 1. I think so all those things concept is already studied by everyone in their mathematics class, so no need to again discuss on that. Again, finding absolute value. Everybody is aware of what absolute value is? See, absolute means only magnitude. Now, again, what do you mean by magnitude? So I think so most of the people have not done their physics class properly. Have you studied about vector in scalar? What is scalar?
Both magnitude, only direct.
Okay, anyone else? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Out of 9 people, nobody has idea what is vector, what is scalar. You guys are young, probably you would have completed your 12th. Huh?
Just value no direction, scalar,
Yes.
and vector with direction.
Yes.
Magnitude.
Yeah, magnitude and direction. So magnitude basically is only the value, okay, or the actual content. There is no direction involved in that, right? So here you see minus 10, whereas absolute means it only takes the magnitude, the actual underlying value, not the sign of it. So if you take the absolute of 10, what will be the output? Huh? Absolute of 10. Yes, absolute of minus 10. Yeah, because we don't take the sign, we only take the value. So whether it is minus or plus, it doesn't matter, right? So sometimes you want only positive number, irrespective of whether number is positive or negative, you will be using absolute. Usually that kind of scenario comes very less, but you have to keep this thing in mind. So that otherwise sometimes some people what they do, they purposefully multiply it by minus 1. But it is wrong, because if the number is positive, it will become negative, right? So if you want the value, right, sometimes always addition or something, or always in positive, then try to take absolute rather than going for multiplying it with minus 1. Okay. Similarly, finding log, again, we used to in our college day, we used to have a table and do that log table. You guys have most of you would have used that. It looks like Sunil have not. पढ़ो भाई, engineering हो गया, log table use नहीं किया. Okay. So log. So because it makes your life much easier, right? And pi is just a constant, so you'll always get a constant value. So only thing is the precision is very high. Here, usually pi is not a finite number, right? So if you want very high precision pi calculation, you can do it with this. Otherwise, generally हम लोग क्या करते हैं 7.5 7.3.14. Take it. It will keep continuing, but we take 2-digit precision, 3-digit. Sometimes if very highly scientific calculation is there, then this is very useful. You might not see any significance that of why you want to have a constant, right, in advanced math feature. But when you are doing a scientific calculation where up to 100, 500, 1000 decimal places is needed for most accurate calculation, you can do it here. And pi, you say, sir, why you need so much of accuracy, right? Why you need so much of accuracy? Because you don't want, but when suppose sometimes you want to calculate your gravity effect and your, magnetic fluctuations and all for the earth, right, on a bigger scale, right? Those things matters because those numbers are very big. And when you multiply, then there will be a significant change. So when you are doing an astronomical calculation or a flight path, a rocket, flight path and all those things, trajectory calculations, there all those things are very critical. Not in our normal day-to-day scenario. There you take 2-digit, 3-digit up to after decimal, doesn't make much difference. But there 1 millimeter difference now will become 1 kilometer difference when you reach to the space, right? And completely your satellite will be off the calculated path. So for those kind of calculation, there is a defined things available with you. Okay. Now, as we were discussing yesterday, right, that when you have multiple data types, at times you need to convert one data type into another data type. Very basic example is your console reading, right? When you read anything from console, what data type it will be in? I showed the example also. Yes, by default it will be in string, but it is not necessary that you are inputting data in string only. For example, we were doing that example of adding two numbers by taking input from console, right? But when you read the data what we have entered, it will be in string. So we need to convert it into integer to perform, or suppose if you have given floating point input or you are expecting a floating point input, then you will convert it into float or double or decimal based on your expectation of input data type. Okay. So you need to convert one form of data to another, and we have various ways of doing it. So you understood the necessity first, why we need to convert data, right? For example, you have short, integer and long. What is the difference between these three? Short is not written there, but I am telling. What is the difference between these three data types? Correct. Yeah. So short, integer and long all are of same data type. Only the capacity of holding data is different, right? So all three are integer only, but their range of holding the integer values are different. Similarly, double float decimal is same data type, floating point number, but the amount of floating point it can handle is different. Okay. Now, for example, suppose if you have two data types defined in that example. You can see one is my small value, my large value. One is of type integer, that is 32-bit, long 64-bit. Okay. Now, small is getting initialized by int32-bit by dot max value. So basically int32 is what? In the right hand side it is written int32 dot max value. In that, what is int32?
Capable of 32, maximum of 32.
What is int 32? What data type? Then what is int? What is int and what is int 32? What is the difference between these two? System is what? System is CTS, common type system. So whereas the left hand side you would have written int, which is specific to C sharp, whereas int 32 is a CTS, common type system, right, which is valid across programming language because this directly belongs to family of IL, intermediate language. Okay, so both are in a way same, but that's what you can use directly here also. So and then you have max value. Okay, so basically maximum value int 32 can hold, it will return you that. Now if we are trying to put this initialized data, that is my small value, into my large value, there is any problem? Will there be any problem? Why? Because capacity of long is higher than int. Okay, but try to do it ulta. Right? You have int and you have sort. Now sort is of how many bits? 16 bit. Okay, those things you remember, that's why I am telling by heart the basic data types. Otherwise, you should not think in answering these small questions. Otherwise, how much difficulty you will face in using it. You think of that. If you don't know about what is int, what it does, what is sort, what it does, how it is different. Now, what we have done is we have put 1000 in int 32. Now, suppose if we want to put it into sort, okay, that might not give an error, and then what we have done is we have given in a small bracket and written sort. So this is actually a process where we are trying to convert int 32 into int 16. Okay, and this is called typecasting. Casting an object from one type to another type is called typecasting or type conversion. Okay. Now why we don't, initially we used to call it as type conversion, but nowadays we don't do it because most of the time you don't convert anything. That will come to know little later when we learn more about objects, how your reference type data is getting typecasted or more complex data is getting typecasted. Okay, so this operation might not fail because 1000 can be held by a sort type integer also. But if it would have been int 32.max and then try to put it into int 16, it will give an error because it will understand you will lose data. There will be a data loss. You cannot convert a maximum int size, int 32 size into int 16, right? Because it cannot hold so much of data. You are getting it? Ints to sort करेंगे तो there will be a data loss because we are taking maximum of int 32. Sometimes it might convert, but do not try because this can fail at any point of time. You can, and this kind of also process is called narrowing. Basically, you narrow, like you are putting a bigger data into smaller one. It is always error prone. You should not be using it.
Will the application throw an error?
Depends. If it is not able to convert, if it thinks that it is losing data, it will throw an error. But you should never write a code which implements narrowing. Why? Because you are providing a loophole. Even though at that point of time it is not failing. But some point of time somebody will put a larger data and it will fail and your system will crash. So you should never introduce a code which is doing this. And if you are doing this also or it has to be done, then use proper measure. Check whether your data is greater than the provided data, like maximum of int 16. You have to, and there's that kind of type conversion also where we manually assist some conversion. So the different kind of conversions are there. Okay, that also we will cover. So you understood, narrowing should not be attempted until unless it is must and should. Okay. Whereas if you are putting a smaller data type into bigger one, like short to int 32 or int 32 long, there will not be any type conversion error. And this kind of casting is called widening. You are widening the data, and widening never creates problem. Okay. Why? Because the range is more. There is no possibility that you will be losing out data. Now there is one more thing, like what we did is we created a int type or say int 32 variable, and we have assigned it with int 32 dot max value, and now we are doing plus plus. Again it will get into error. Why? Because you have already initialized the data with the maximum possible value and you cannot increment it further. And all those things are there for you guys to test. Install Visual Studio in your system, testify all those things, try to break it, try to find out the ways, which you will understand that what to do, what not to do with the variable limits. Okay. Now, okay, like there is overflow, right? When you do plus plus, basically it is a overflow. So when you are using checked code, all those things are not needed, because you should take care of all those things at the time of designing the program, not in between the program. These are only things if something has happened already in the past. How you will check and balance it, not when you are writing the program. This kind of problem may occur when you are rewriting a program, or you are modifying or writing a new piece of code in a existing program where already this error was or this kind of mistakes were done. But when you are writing, plan your data type very carefully so that we should not land into this kind of situation where we get into overflow, or there is a type conversion where we know that it might be a problem at any point of time. We can handle it, but we should avoid getting into this kind of situation. A good programmer plans properly what will be your data, this thing, and introduces that very specifically. If you feel that there is a potential problem, always put it into a method, so that when there is a modification, only one place it is getting modified, not in the entire code base. In a method, or do a dependency injection, and those kind of programming where your rest of the code is not dependent on this piece of code, because it is hard coded dependent. You have to make changes everywhere, which is problematic, especially when your code is in live. Whereas if there is only one place where you are changing it, still testability, after you change that, you can testify it much easier than when you have changed it into 10 different places. Right, Asa? So this is also for testers, right? How developers should do coding so that with one change, things should be up and running, not with 100 changes. Okay. Any questions till now? Okay. Now like till now we were seeing examples of converting data into known data types like integer to integer. So anyway, problem is not that big. Like if you are in India, you are in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, or any other place, your currency note is Indian rupees only. So not big problem. It might Karnataka is a little richer state, so people have more money, right? So big pocket. Some other place, they don't have that money, they want a smaller pocket. So if you give some bigger money, they might not able to hold it. But there is not big problems. But now we are entering into unknown domains, like that means, you started working and reached to, say, Bangladesh. Now, currency itself changes, right? So when we are talking about converting data from string to integer or integer to string. Now again, converting any known data types like basic data types to a string is very easy, because any data is represented in form of characters. Like when you say 0, 1, 2, 3, these are also characters only, right? Or hexadecimal, there also characters are used. So converting that into string is very easy. But from string to a particular data type, then again you have to think and you have to be very cautious that whether it will happen, not happen, right? Because if you try to convert a into integer, won't happen. You are getting it? So you have to be careful. So, and you have to wrap your coding with try catch block. All the, again, error handling will have a separate discussion. We'll discuss on that. So as you can see, we have created a string and initialized it with number 10, but it is in double quotes. So it's not number 10, this is string 10. Okay. Now, in order to convert this thing into integer, there are various ways. You can also write int in square bracket, like how we did it with sort to, long to int 32 or sort to int. But that is again very much error prone. You should try parsing or convert to string methods again, which handles the data much better, because these are all implemented ones. It's not like that kind of typecasting is very raw. It used to be used in C. So we have just carried it forward, but you should not do that. You should follow more advanced ones where data is handled in much more detailed manner. Okay, they are again convert, in 32.parse is there, convert.to to int 32 is there. These are more sophisticated. So we have passed the string into convert.int 32. So it will try to convert the string into integer. If not, it will fire an error. Okay. So here luckily we are put 10, so definitely it should be able to convert it into integer. Again you can try it, so there is no harm in trying. So you can write a code and try, because all are one-liner code, so I am not writing it unless there is something very substantial comes that you will not be able to do it yourself at this point of time. Okay. Now again there is a count is having 10 now, because string 10 was there and we have converted into integer, that is kept into a variable called count. Now you can again convert it back to string by convert.toString, like how? So you have multiple object-based manipulation in convert this thing. So you can put .toString and it will convert a integer or float or data types. Once you put bracket, I'll show you that, like how IntelliSense works in this. For example, now we want to write okay. Dot. See, these are IntelliSense, like, it will tell you what and all methods are available in that. 2, int 16, int 32, int 64, right? We have to put string. Now we'll see, string, single is the string. Now, convert to string, can you see the options? Right, there will be arrow mark. How many you see here? What does it mean? Again, this is called overload. I'll again explain you what overload is in little later when we are covering the method. We will cover what overloading is, but you can see first one option is you can put a boolean value and convert it into string. Second one, this is of byte type, char type, date time. Okay, so most of the data types you can put it into this and get a equivalent string. As I told, you should be easily convert anything into string because yeah, exactly, everything has a string equivalent, right? Except few more complex data types, what we are doing mostly for structure, but all basic data types will have a equivalent string already. Complex data type also has, but then it depends on how we have formulated the data type. Okay, so this is understood, or any confusion is there in this? Okay, so now we have understood here with examples that how an integer can be converted into a string and a string can be converted into integer. Now what we did is we created a string and integer again. Now we have done parse, as I told, right, because some time back I was telling there is another safe method for converting, that is parse. So it handles much more better than even convert.int32. The basic is you directly write int in the square bracket like this. For example, we have an integer, say int ass equals, do we have a string? Okay, see, this very basic way is this. Okay, this doesn't work with string anyway. So now you are left with only two. One is convert dot, okay, in 32, in 64, in 16 you can do that. Okay, even though you know that it will always fail, but this will take. And then you have int 32 or int 16 or int dot parse or try parse. You have parse also and try parse also, right? So you see, it will give you also whether it succeeded or not in conversion, right? Whereas this one will directly give you integer, but this one will give you two, right? Bool and int both as output. Okay, so all those things you can explore yourself. I'm not able to see what is written behind, but that's fine. Like, you can read out the instructions, like what is the input and what is the output, and get into try parse thing. As of now, we'll just put parse, but try parse is more advanced than parse as well. So you get to know upfront that whether your conversion was succeeded or not. So most of the times try to use int32.parse. That is more sophisticated than convert.toInt32. Now we are in object-based manipulations, right? As we were discussing that time. Now, what do you mean by object-based manipulations? Asa? What do you mean by object?
Data.
Data type and object is different.
What we see.
What we?
See.
Yes, correct. So, but that is the literal meaning you can say. So, in real world scenarios, what is an object? First, we have to understand that, and then we can go back and again extrapolate the same thing into what does it mean in computer world. See, C# is a object-oriented programming language that you might have. That is also called OOPS, right? Object-oriented programming language. So why we call this thing is as object-oriented programming language is because it's based around orientation means it is based around or oriented around or revolving around concept of object. Now, why programming languages are that much obsessed with objects? Right? Why we want to base a programming language on objects? What is the need? See, by far, right, surviving programming languages, which is currently being used, which is the fastest programming language, you tell me? The latest and the oldest, which is currently being used, which is the fastest programming language, that which executes faster.
Python.
Anyone else?
C.
See, I'll tell you hierarchy, how it is. First is C, then C++, then Java, then .NET, and these are in multiple hundreds. Like you can say, your Python is 100 times, 1000 times slower than C#. Not C. C it might be more, because C# also will be slower than C, because all those languages are developed based on C. Whatever name we have taken, right? Everything is developed on C programming language. Now, when we see and your Windows operating system is based on C, right? Your MacBook is based on like your software, right? Yeah, Mac software like your what is the software name? Macintosh. No, not Macintosh. OS. What is the name? Something. Yeah, Mountain Lion is the version, right? But okay, let's assume it is Macintosh. Okay, so that is based on Objective-C as well, right? So a version of C which support object-oriented language, but it is still very fast. Okay, so most of the programming languages are based like your Linux. So all available operating system is based on C. All the modern day object-oriented programming language is based on C. When C is such a strong programming language, right? Why we want to use any other programming language? First question should be that only, right? When you can do all those great things, like you cannot develop a software better than Windows operating system. It's a massive software, and it works beautifully. Like 80%, 90% entire world's population is using Windows in that PC. And then we are trying, no, develop on C#, develop on Java, develop on Python. What is the, significance of even doing that?
Limited inbuilt thing.
You can say somewhere. Now, first you have to understand why we are using programming language. Why you want to develop a programming language for yourself. Why do you need programming language? Anybody can answer this?
To make our work easier.
Yes. What kind of work?
Not to repeat something.
And not to repeat. Calculating, see, we are in bits and pieces, but see, eventually all human beings are very lazy. Some are more, but mostly everybody is very lazy and they don't want to do anything, right? Or they want to make their life easier than before. How you will do it? By not doing work. It's very simple, right? Asa, right? Mother-in-law says something, headache, right? You'll always be ready with, some innovative ideas where you should not be doing any hard work, or your life should be better than before. Now the definition of that might vary from person to person, but the gist is you want to make your life better than what was earlier. And how you will do it? One simple way is of not working that hard what you did it yesterday. Now, work is something that will not automatically happen. To survive, you need works to be done. Like this office, if it is not, the building is not created, how we are sitting in office, right? Now, question is not about whether this building should be created. It should be created, but I don't want to do it, right? So I'll outsource this work to some contractor. Contractor will get the labor. I'll only give money, right? So we are outsourcing the work to someone else. You don't want to. You want to live your life peacefully without headache, and somebody else let them do it. Now there is a chain, right? When it comes to last person, what he'll do? He'll also try to do the same thing, because you are making your life better, right? For example, in my team, I'll give instruction, you do this, you do this. I'll not do, right? Because this thing is, I should not be doing this work because I've done it 1,000 times. What I am gaining when I'm doing that small work, but the person who is doing it will get a lot of experience. But once that guy also gets experience, what he'll do? He'll try to push it to someone else, right? Now, here we are limited with the staffing, you can say. So somebody should be the last person. But in the day-to-day life, everybody wants to make their life better. So finally they'll try, okay, if not human, let machine do the work. You're getting it? So it's not the human who is doing the work. Now all those things were done. For example, pandemic hit. India didn't get that much affected because work didn't stop. All the IT people were doing work from home, right? So the facility was there. The infrastructure, the digital infrastructure helped them getting the work done without stepping out of their house. And how this is possible? By programming. It would have not been possible if the programming doesn't know what we want. And what we want our day-to-day life to be better. So we have to, what problem we need to solve? What we do in day-to-day life. You're getting it? To understand what we do, we have to understand what we interact with in day-to-day basis. To understand all those things, right, we have to understand the concept of objects. So what is an object? Okay. What is an object? Can you define someone, like someone can define, which you have studied in your class 2nd or 3rd, definition of object? No?
It's a real world entity.
Yeah. This is computer language. This is probably you would have read in, +2 or after that. 2nd, 3rd class.
Which we can touch, feel.
Yeah. Anything which has mass, this has some volume, which occupies some space, has taste, a smell, or you can feel it with any senses, right? That is an object. Now give me one example which is not an object. Example of a non-object. Here you can feel it, right? You can measure it. It has volume. So it is an object. See, now dream also is an object. Because you can feel it. When you know it is there, right? When you have dreamt it, it means that it is an object.
Black hole.
Because you can feel it. How you are explaining me dream? Because you have,
Black hole.
you can measure it.
No.
You can measure it. You know black hole has different sizes, right?
But we can't imagine it.
You can measure now, like you can say Sirius A. Sirius A is the supermassive black hole. It has a mass of 1,000 billion sun. How you are telling that? You have measured, scientists have measured it.
It is like 1,000 to billion. There are huge difference, right?
Right? See, accuracy is like you can say your measurement has flaws, but measurement will not be like what I am telling, it will be 100% wrong. Accuracy might be, and how they do it, by observing their nearby stars' movement. They feel how much gravitational pull it is extracting on the nearby stars. That's how they measure it. So there is a measurement for black hole also. Basically, there is nothing in the entire universe what you see or you know of. There might be something what we don't know, but whatever we know is an object. So you can happily say anything and everything in the entire universe is an object. So when in our real life whatever do is an object. If our programming language understand what object is, our life is much easier, right? To write the program to make them understand how object behaves. When they can emulate how object behaves, we can get the real time work done, real life work done. That means our day-to-day life work we will not be doing. Now computer will be doing, or most of it computer will be doing. So is this clear, right? What object is. Now there is classification. For example, when we say a water bottle, right? You have classification. It should be of different size, a particular size, and it can hold water, and there should be a cap. So that is a definition. But when we say a Bisleri water, it is an object. So classification is a description, right? It is not a lifetime entity or like real time entity. When you say pen, you visualize what and all component it will have. But when we say CLO pen, then we know this is a real time object. I am holding it. Okay. Similarly, Bisleri water, right? These are all real time objects. So what object is and what classification is, broadly, because we will have this session later also when we are learning about classes, namespaces and objects, right? We have object based manipulation, so I have given a preface. So any real time entity of this thing. So you can say variable also, you can treat it like an object, right? Like data type is a just classification of data, whereas variables are a real time entity of that data type or that classification. Now, when you do any manipulation directly on the object or directly on the real time entity, is called object based manipulation. You are directly manipulating the object. Like you can see, you have created a integer. Can you see the example? Okay. Here, integer. Okay. And you have put 100. And directly we say convert like dot to string. So this integer we are directly. But before that, what you saw was convert dot to string, right? Here, this thing, my integer was a variable, and directly we are, putting a method on the variable, so we are directly manipulating the object, and this process is called object-based manipulation. And most of the examples you will find here is with respect to string. Only few which is apart from that, but mostly string. Okay. So you can see some basic object-based manipulation that can be done on, like when suppose you have a string this is a test string, and then you have lot of white spaces, right? Simply spaces here. So there is a method that is called trim. It doesn't take any arguments. If you use this, it will remove the extra spaces from the beginning and from the end. That is called trim. There is trim start and trim end also, which only does the particular side. When you say trim start, it will remove the extra spaces from the start, and when you say trim end, it will remove extra spaces from the end. And when you say trim, it will try to remove extra white spaces from starting and ending both. And you see resultant string in the right hand side, it is written that what will be the equivalent data, right? Now after this, what we are trying to do is substring. Substring is basically taking out a smaller portion of the main string data and storing into a variable. So what it is, the first this thing you see is the starting position, right? From where it is starting, a 0th position, that is from T, right? And then you take only 4 characters. Second one is, it's not from starting and ending. First one is the starting position and then number of characters to take. Don't get confused. A lot of people gets confused that this starting character and ending character, and for this example it will match, right? Because it's starting from 0. This thing it will not match, because when you say 1 2 3, 1 to 4, you will start say 1 2 3 4. It doesn't work like that. From 1 it will take 4 characters. Okay, so that you have to be careful that for the first one, if you are thinking that way, that it is from the starting character and that 4 is the ending one, no. 4 is the number of characters to take after the starting position. So in this case it will be this, right? THIS is 4 characters, so it is taking 4 characters. Now there is again upper, so basically it converts anything which is in lowercase to uppercase, which is already there in uppercase, that will be as it is. Similarly, you have 2 lower also, which converts uppercase into lowercase. Now the last one is replace. Basically it replaces the string, if there is a substring in the string, it will replace with the, suppose IS is found in the string my string, then it will be replaced by 80. Our string current value is this THIS. That means IS is there. And now we have already done 2 upper. So this which was only capital T is now become capital THIS. Now IS is present and it will be removed by 80. So what is the resultant string will become that. All those things again when you go home you can check and you will find the same. They are more like if you are integer, then you have length property. It will tell one what is the length of the string or So suppose there are 10 characters in the string. So when you find the length, the int value should be 10 there. Okay. Now you can also do object based manipulation at once, right? So when you have written everything, right, in one string, result will still be the same. So what you got in 5 steps, you can write in 1 step. You can see in the bottom, right? You can everything you write in 1 line. So you can put multiple object based manipulation in 1 line and still it will execute in the same manner. Now you can also work those things to a constant string also. Now the other length property, 2 upper, 2 lower, trim end, trim start. Okay. Then pad left, pad right. See again, sometimes you do padding. Padding in the sense, suppose your character, we want the character length to be 10 always. But your existing character might be only 3 or 4. So you can pad with some characters like say a space to your left or right, depending upon in which side you want to maintain the, suppose you are displaying this thing, right? So in the left hand side or in the right hand side, you want to pad the data so that everything looks exactly with the same width. Clear? Usually you don't use all those things. Padding and all is hardly used. But insert again. Suppose insert again, first one is the position, second one is the character to insert. Remove, same thing. First one is the starting character and second one is the number of characters to be removed. Replace, it will replace when the string in the left is found with the string with the in the right. Substring also we have explained before. Now this is like starts with. You can check whether your string starts with a particular character or a substring. Similarly, ends with also works in the same way. Now you have got to know like how to check if your string is starting with some value or ending with some value. But if you want to find the value which might be in between, then you use index of. Index of and last index of, I'll tell you. What happens, suppose you have pre and in your string pre is used 10 times. If you are using index of this thing, it will return you the position of the first occurrence of your character or a substring. Where last index of will give you the last index of the last occurrence of the character or a substring. Now these things you hardly use, so don't worry, but the next one you will use very frequently, that is split. More often you want to split your string to list or a array with certain characters. Suppose, for example, very common example is a comma separated CSV, you know, right? .csv false. If you are reading and you want to segregate the data is separated by comma. You can split the data by comma and you will get all the data in the list. This is very basic, I told, right? So there are a lot of other examples where we send the data at once. Like sometimes what happens is we have to send the data and we have only one parameter. We have a separator, we put the separator and that is predefined, which is known by sender and receiver both, right? And we can separate. Sometimes suppose you have full name as Hemant Kumar, but in my data I am storing first name separately, last name separately. What I will do? How I will separate this? Split by space. You will get the first name and last name. Clear? Then join. Again, it is joining string, but we have plus symbol, so nobody. Concatenation is very simple. So this is hardly used. Now, date, time and time span. We have already discussed this. We will see this thing in little action now. So, date time is not a native data type. It is used like a object, like how we create or instantiate a object, we use it that way. So we use a new keyword. If you want to create a data or variable of type date time, but if you want to get the date or time, it is a static method. So you don't have to, or static class, basically you don't have to create the instance. You can directly type date time dot. Now it's for current date and current time, and there is date time dot today. It will give you the today's date, but time will be 000. Okay, and then you can again do a lot of object based manipulations like add days, add year, add month, like, okay, these things you can do. But if you want to create a variable, then you have to use a new keyword. Okay, again, more about new keyword will come little later. Okay, now as you know that for some of the operations, especially subtraction, if you subtract two dates, if you add two dates, you might get a date. But when you subtract two dates, you might not get a date. That discussion we already had. So what we'll do in that kind of scenario, we'll be using a different type of data type called time span, which gives you a time elapsed between two dates, right? So here you see what and all you will get. You can take total number of minutes, you can take total number of years, like all the way till milliseconds. You can get year, month, days, and second, like minute, seconds, hour, minute, second, milliseconds. Up to milliseconds you will get. Okay, and then okay, so you can get intervals also if you want. Okay, and you can add it into date time variable directly, and it will take, like, if suppose if you want to add these many hours to the particular date, you can directly do it if you have a time span variable. But those things are not mostly when you are subtracting or when you are using some operation where you are having doubt that you will get a date and time variable. Okay, you can do a direct operations for time span, like subtract two dates, you will get a time span. Okay, now these are the some properties of date time object. First one is, now it gives you the current date and time. Again, you can read through all those things when you are at home, because the book is there with you also. I'll just quickly go through. If you have any doubt, you can. Today will give you only the date, time will be 00, it will be set at 12 a.m. Okay, then you can also get the current year, month, and hours, seconds, milliseconds, up to milliseconds, then day of week, right? First day, second day, up to 7th, you can say. And then you can add, subtract, add year, month, again up to milliseconds, you can do that. Okay, days in month you can find out. If you give a date time variable and find out how many days were there in that particular date, like particular month, you can get it. Okay, you can also check whether it is leap year or not. Okay, and then finally you can convert it into string. As with most of the data types, this also you can convert it to string, or again typecast a string date time type to a date time object as well. Again, there are a few more things here. Time span, you have days, hours, year, month. Again, same thing. You can get total number of years, total number of months, days, hour, minute, second, millisecond, all those things with time span. Now, as you can see here, everything is written. Again, you do add subtract operations with this. Okay. From days, again, you can get the interval here by today. And finally, you can convert it to a string. If you go through it, if you have any confusion, I don't think so there should be any confusion. But if it is there, in the next class, you guys can ask me. No, array we will not cover, because we will be covering arrays when we are covering more advanced data types like generics, array list. Okay, there are more structures and all those things. We will cover this thing together. Okay, last I think so. Okay, we will conclude on logical operators. Like you have seen arithmetic operators, there is another type of operators are very crucial to programming, that is your logical operators, because these kind of operators make us do logical operations, which is very crucial in. So make decisions. When you are making decisions with the help of these logical operators most of the times. For example, equal to symbol was for value assignment, right? So whatever variable is in your left hand side will get assigned with the value or variable in the right hand side if the data type is appropriate. But when you put double equal to, it is a, yeah, so equal, it will take its normal behavior as equating. It will check whether two values are equal or not. But in normal scenarios, you cannot write double equal, right? For that, you need to have a, a expression which can evaluate the value. Okay, so you should have a Boolean type to hold this thing. Usually, we use this thing in for, while, if, if statement or while loop, for loop, these kind of things. Again, not equal. Again, like how it is, if there is equal to symbol and there is an expression, if both the data is equal, it will return, expression will return true. Okay. Similarly, not equal means if both the data are not equal, the expression will return true. Now, greater than and less than, again same thing. These are all used for expressions, and the result of expression will be either be true or false. Then you can combine like less than equal to, greater than equal to, and then you have and or. Like double ampersand is and operation. And operation is basically, yeah, both left hand side and right hand side, there are two different expressions. Both should be true to the overall, the resulting expression. So suppose this, you just try to understand. So we have expression A, and we are writing ampersand expression B. But there is an overall expression as well, that is, say, C. Now, result of C will be true if expression A is true and expression B is true. Then only C will return true. If A is false, B is true, C will be false. If A is true, B is false, still it will be false only. Until unless both are true, then only this will be true. Otherwise, all the every scenarios will be false. Now, when we are having or, in this one this is pipe expression B, and suppose this is C. Here it is little different. Suppose result of expression A is false and B is false. This is the only scenario where C will be false. Rest all the scenarios, if A is true, B is false, still, because it says either this or this. Until unless both are false, result will be, until unless both are false, result will be true only. If both are false, then only it will be false. Rest all scenarios. Any one of them is true, result will be true. Okay. So let's.
We don't have that triple equivalency, sir.
We have it. We have it. We don't use it in this one. Okay. Now, comparing the string, you can, again, resultant will be true or like 0 or 1. Okay. These things are, we don't do that, all those things. Very, very rare we compare strings. Okay, usually if there is any comparison, it will be in the exact data type. Suppose when you are comparing numbers, it should be, if it is in string, it has to be first converted into number. We usually never compare string unless there is a very specific scenario. Okay, that is very rare that we are comparing string.
So we can compare with
Which one?
Two string.
Huh.
Then what is difference?
You have additional this thing available because this is under string. If you say capital S, I was telling, right, this is implemented data type. In this one you have a lot of features, like if you are using this string instead of normal small s string, if your string is null, you will not fire, it will not fire error. But if your small string you have written and you are not initialized, it will fire error. It doesn't handle null value, right? If you are writing toString and convert toString, again the same thing. Convert.toString will handle null value. toString, that object-based manipulation, will not handle null value. So all those basic things are there. You can also go through, and otherwise when you are coding, you will get to know. These kind of things actually should pop up when you are coding. You will find the difference, or you will understand things much better than what I am, because when I am telling you, will forget, I know. After 15, 20 days or 1 month, you'll forget. Once you encounter this while you are coding, then you'll remember it for a longer time. Because you'll scratch your head what's happening. And when you struggle for 1-2 hours, then you'll value this learning much more than what I am telling. Okay? So all those things you will learn, and I hardly have used compare, till now. So it won't come across. And if it is there, like mostly we use all those things as a part of expression, right? So there, if conditions, usually you will get these things, is, if or switch. So there it is much easier to do it and use the output for a good effect. When you are doing like this, I don't know, for some specific scenario this might be needed, but otherwise you will not be using this. Okay, again it can be used as an object-based manipulation, like compared to. Like what you are doing here is like we are using a method of this particular string class. Here what we are doing, we are directly manipulating the string and saying compared to a particular different value. If it is this, and the result will be either 0 or 1. Now, if statement. If statement will not do it today. We will conclude the class here only, because we need more time for if, and everything should be covered at once, like your if till, for loop, and for each loop, everything should be one class. I don't think so we will have enough time. So we will leave it here anyway, enough information till now. And slowly in 1 or 2 class we will cover this thing, and then there will be a lot of, we'll have coding examples here. Then I can do here, you can go home, you can, work around and do some, work yourself. Okay then.